I think the one aspect of the fitness or wellness industry that gets overlooked all the time is optimal hydration. And so, you could not eat for a week and you'd still be alive. But if you didn't drink, you'd be dead.
Snackable content from brand builders,
e-commerce and growth marketing leaders,
giving you actionable insights you can apply today.
Bite-sized podcast
with Daniel James.
Welcome back to Bite Sized. I'm super excited. I've got a good friend of mine, known him for a couple of years now, Charlie, founder and CEO of Humantra on the podcast. What's up, Charlie? Welcome to Bite Sized.
Hey, bro. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. You were just showing me your French bulldogs, actually, before this.
Yeah, super fortunate. It's late here in Dubai, so they're fast asleep.
What are their names?
Duke and Wesley.
Nice. Love it. Well, Charlie, really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I've known you for a while, been super impressed with what you've been building with Humantra, kind of followed your journey, and we've been connected for a couple of years. So it's been really great to see just how much you progressed as an entrepreneur and building the brand. But for anyone who doesn't know, just tell us your 5-minute career story, kind of where it started, a bit about your journey and kind of what you're doing now in building Humantra.
So, I mean, let's say you're back at university. We were just chatting, obviously not really knowing what I wanted to do when I was at school, but I did a law degree in Exeter in the UK because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did that for 3 years. And I think after 2 weeks, I was like, this is not for me. But fundamentally, it was great. It taught me how to public speak, taught me how to write, frame arguments. So in essence, it was a good experience, but I probably could have done the course that took 3 years in 12 months. And then went into a corporate job in Dubai for like 6 years, which was a grad scheme in essence. So it was cool. Like I got exposure to lots of different facets of business. Like in essence, like it was really good and I enjoyed it. But we just had that discussion off air really, where I just came to the conclusion at 27, I was like, I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, but I'm pretty good at it. I couldn't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. So I was like, well, why don't I go and do something I'm actually passionate about? Surely I'm going to be better at that. And so that took me on pretty much a 7-year cycle of starting my own business. And Humantra is like my third iteration of businesses. I think each one's been progressively more successful, if I use that word lightly. First one was a complete mess. I learned more in like sort of 12, 24 months doing that than in my whole life up to that point, which was great. And fast forward to now, the second business was was contact lenses, which we worked together on. And then now building Humantra, which is like my pride and joy, what I'm most passionate about. So it's been a long time coming, 7 years of a lot of struggle. We spoke about the delayed gratification piece, but we're here now. Essentially, Humantra we're a wellness brand. Our product that we sell is an electrolyte sachet. And we're trying to promote optimal hydration through proactive daily wellness and proactive hydration. So for me, it's mass impact. I love what I do. I get out of bed very early every day with a smile on my face, but it has not been a linear positive journey to this point. But nonetheless, I've loved it and I wouldn't change any of it.
You mentioned like you were good at it, but you didn't have passion. And now obviously you're doing something you're super passionate about. Why do you think that's important?
Good question. I think it just goes back to I think in essence, everything comes down to hard work and literally the hours you put in. I mean, there's those Kobe stories about, shooting shots 2 a.m. in the morning. It just comes down to reps, right? How much work you're willing to put in. I think that when the passion isn't there, you're more likely to go and do something else. Maybe not necessarily quit, but stop and be like, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But I think for me, passion pushes me further. It means I wake up every morning early with a smile on my face, ready to solve the problems that are in front of me. And I look back to not having passion, and I think that not that I was selling a lie, but I was only probably using half of my potential. And I feel like passion for me it's like the unlock to all my capability. And it means that when there's super tough moments, and trust me, there have been some really hard moments over the last 6-7 years. And, I go back to that, resilience piece. For me, it's like, if I wasn't passionate about it, I'd have given up ages ago. And I think that the passion piece just allows me somehow, even when I'm on the floor and the going's getting tough, just to wake up the next day and just keep going again and again and again.
Yeah, I think and again, we were talking about this before we started recording. I think it is so hard, right? I think a lot of people maybe have a misguided view of like what quote unquote success or building something for yourself actually looks like. And I think like the passion piece becomes so important, because if you aren't passionate about it, with how difficult it is, you're going to give up. And it's a consistent thing I hear from everyone.
I agree. And I think we were chatting about it as well, sort of saying that, everyone sees the success, right? No one sees what you've had to go through to get there. And I think the common misconception is that it's potentially easy and it's, easy to be successful. And I just think, for me, especially, like, just the complete opposite. I wouldn't wish my journey on anybody, but it's been fundamentally important that I went on that journey because it's, made me who I am today. Will not rewind, do it again, 100% no. And there've been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of self-doubt. But I think that, it just goes back to that piece where it's like, you just don't give up. And I think not giving up comes from passion. So I think, passion's so important, and I love what I do.
Amazing. So Humantra, your current brand, what was the inspiration behind that? Because as you mentioned, you'd had a couple of other brands previously or businesses previously. Like, why Humantra? Why are you building a brand in the wellness space? What kind of sparked the initial idea?
Yeah, I think I'd say literally maybe, about 24 months ago, really, for me, like we spoke about earlier, like I just went on a big introspective journey, really, about taking complete accountability for everything in my life. And I think I just almost went on this like mass detox, like who I followed on social, the content I was consuming, the people I was spending my time with, the output that I was putting out into the world. And, what I fundamentally boiled down to is that I wanted to get fitter. I wanted to spend more time in the gym. I wanted to be healthy. Ultimately, I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to really do what I was passionate about. And so the more I was training, and concurrently, I found out that my dad had then been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Sadly, he died in December. But for me, I needed a crux effectively to help me combat that. And I sort of used physical pain to combat emotional pain, which looking back now was not the right thing to do, but at the time it served as a great purpose, which helped me dive deeper into health and wellness, fitness. And I looked back and looked at my dad, and in essence, I was like, no amount of money could have made him better. You can't buy health and wellness. You just can't. And so for me, it was about dialing in the gym and looking at all those different aspects of health and wellness. And I think the one aspect of the fitness or wellness industry that gets overlooked all the time is optimal hydration. And so, you could not eat for a week and you'd still be alive. But if you didn't drink, you'd be dead. And so everyone's looking for like protein powders or creatine and all these amazing things, which are great in silo, part of a balanced diet. But I think what gets overlooked the most is hydration. And from my experience, optimal hydration is the easiest thing to pursue every day to have the biggest possible upside. And that's what really excited me. So for me, it was about hydration. And then if I tie it back into an e-com perspective, it was a replenishable product, which was obviously super important for me from an e-com perspective, super lightweight in shipping, and something I was really passionate about. So the stars aligned, and it was like, well, how can we build a product in the supplement space around hydration? And that's it, really.
So, I mean, you're into your fitness, I'm into my fitness as well. And I'll say for me, hydration is, well, I drink a lot of water each day. But to your point, like, I know about electrolytes, but I don't take them. Until recently when I started purchasing Humantra. So you're right, like when you think about hydration and having electrolytes and the ease of putting a sachet of Humantra in some water, it's super easy compared to buying the right food, cooking the right food, getting the right protein shakes, taking the right supplements and all that sort of stuff. But it does have a big impact. Why do you think hydration is more of an overlooked aspect of overall health and wellness?
Great question. I think in essence, we've always been taught that drinking water is the only way to be hydrated. And I think that misconception has meant that people have overlooked the mineral or electrolyte space. Whereas adequate and optimal hydration is a combination of the actual fluid water and the minerals or electrolytes that your body needs. Now, some water, like the more expensive spring water, has good mineral content in it. Other water, maybe tap water, some bottled water doesn't. And your body needs these minerals to function properly. Unfortunately, your body doesn't naturally create minerals, sodium, calcium, potassium, etc. So if you're not supplementing them into your diet adequately, you're putting yourself and your body at a disservice. Cognitively, physically, your sleep, magnesium is getting loads of talk now. Magnesium is an electrolyte. Sodium is an electrolyte. How often is there a discourse around salt being bad for you? Of course, everything to excess is bad for you, but sodium is so integral to optimal bodily function. It's ridiculous. And so I just think the narrative, just like a lot of health and wellness, has maybe been a little bit miscued, and people need to realize that you need water, fluid water, and you need electrolytes or minerals. So I use that word interchangeably. And even there was a story recent, I think last week, where a lady drank too much water without mineral content and she actually passed away.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm sorry I smiled. I give my girlfriend shit all the time because she doesn't drink water. And she, terribly sad about the person, but she sent me the post and was like, see, I'm being careful. I'm not drinking too much water. Look at what happens. But, prime example of somebody who doesn't pay attention to hydration, but constantly feels tired and has headaches, which...
That's the one thing I talk about to all my mates now and who are fit and healthy. I mean, for 2 years, I've taken electrolytes. And, I do all the human-type stuff, I have saunas, cold plunge and everything. And I genuinely can't remember the last time that I had a headache or I was ill. Seriously. And my friends, the same thing. And maybe people say, oh, well, you're lucky or whatever, you're not. But for me, it's like a combination of, I don't like this idea of everyone's looking for a quick fix, right? And I just think that it's all a journey. Excuse the pun, like it's fluid. It's just, you just every day, especially with hydration, everything, you can't just go and get a quick fix. It's just not sustainable. And I think it's in every aspect of life. If you look at brands that win really, really quickly, is there longevity? No. It's about how long you can last effectively in business, in training, whatever it is. And I think that ultimately you need things that are sustainable over a long period of time. That has the biggest macro impact. So, and the easiest thing to do is like drink electrolytes every day when you wake up. And genuinely, it's going to improve like your life. It just can't not.
Talking about passion, I can hear the passion in your voice about the products and about the problems you're solving, which is, it adds to that authenticity of obviously like, and falls through probably into why the brand has been so successful, because you really believe in what you're building and you've been a benefactor from the products, right, in your own life.
Do you know what? It's like I only have to read reviews from, and I think that I'll always remember like my first brand when some random person buys your product for the very first time, how good that feels. But reading we get reviews every day on the products, and genuinely like some of those reviews, life-changing for people, and I think that might sound grand and romantic, but I think if I go back to like what my ulterior motive was I always wanted to at some stage like have mass impact in a positive way. And I genuinely believe that that's what I'm doing now in this business, which excites me every day. And I genuinely believe, whether romantic or not, like the power of adequate hydration is a game changer. Because I think how many people do you speak to like will always say, oh, I'm not drunk enough water today. So like not only are they not getting the fluids they need, they're not getting the minerals they need. So of course they're going to feel rubbish. And I used to be one of those people where you trick yourself thinking, oh, I feel rubbish today, feel crap, feel shit. And you trick yourself thinking that's the norm. And like it just doesn't need to be the norm. Like waking up tired every day, granted that life can get difficult, but I think there are certain things you can do to try and offset certain things. And I'd say like adequate hydration every day is only going to have a net gain on your daily life. There's no negatives to it.
I love that and totally agree. You've got a tattoo, and I think it's on your Instagram page, of what does chop wood or chop wood and carry water. What does that mean? So
I read a book called 11 Rings by Phil Jackson after watching The Last Dance about 10 times during COVID. So Phil Jackson coached MJ, coached Kobe, the most successful NBA coach of all time. And he was a big fan of sort of spirituality. And he references a Zen Buddha quote in the book, talking about the Lakers. And he said that after enlightenment, chop would carry water. Before enlightenment, chop would carry water. In essence, the phrase really means like focus on the task at hand. Don't dwell on the future or the past. And I think for so long, like we spoke just before we started recording, I was always thinking back and thinking how to change this, or trying to fast forward and hope when I get to X, Y, Z, I'm going to be happy. Or, when I get to this stage of business, like I won't have any problems. And I just think that was just the wrong way about it. And I think for me, it's like focus at the task at hand, enjoy the process. Because I'm a process guy. Like, I think there's no like mad end goal where I want to get to and just stop. Like, I love what I do. And sometimes you do get caught with it. You want to like get to the end of the month to see how performance is, or you want to look back and think, oh, I could have done that differently, but it doesn't help. And so it's just about like, just focus on the day to day, like that, all those cliches, like 1% better every day. And like you go back to all these bigger businesses with this like singular focus of, with Bezos and, how can we improve this for the customer? Does that, make the customer experience better? Even with Elon with SpaceX, how does he get us closest to Mars? And I think for me, it's like, can I just focus on the day to day, which is going to serve me way better than just dwelling on things that are out of my control.
100%. I love it. Great quote. You live in Dubai. You mentioned in your story that you went over there earlier on in your career. Why did you make the move permanent? I mean, I love Dubai. It's hot. So why Dubai? And what's the e-commerce space like over there?
Why Dubai? I think it's super conducive for what I'm doing right now. It's a great, I think, test market for brands. I'd say online e-com is pretty nascent. If you look at the macro sort of scene, Netflix, Amazon only really came to the region in 2018, 2019. So the idea of tokenization and subscriptions in reality only really came into play in 2019. And if you look at the Visa, MasterCard studies, like cash on delivery was the predominant mode of payment until basically like probably 70% of payments until like 2018. So like it's a predominant mall culture here, going to the mall is a social element as well. But I think that what you're getting here is amazing people. It's a great place to live. And I think that, it's just very conducive for people wanting to push boundaries. It's a small city, but it's a young city. So I think the rise of e-com is going to start hitting some heavier heights. It's never going to be the size of the US or the UK, but for me, it's just a super conducive place to be. It's served me really well for 10 years. And I've enjoyed my time here.
Is it very entrepreneurial?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I think, look, you can't be here unless you've got a job, right? Which I think in essence, these people are moving here to better their life at any stage of the career spectrum or the wealth spectrum. Even if you're a lower income worker and you're coming here to better off your family because salary is better than where it is home. Like even at that stage, I feel that that's an entrepreneurial decision. You're going to go and do something to better yourself. And so in essence, people are actively choosing to come here to have a better life. That sounds really, and I'm doing that because that sounds pretty pathetic, but it's true. People, you can only be here if you want to work. And I think that the rise of startups, brands popping up here now. I mean, there's not a lot, but I just think that people are actively trying to do some pretty cool things here. And I think especially with the location, logistically now, it's a great place to service multiple markets. You've seen the rise of Saudi Arabia as a colossal market. We talk about the US being massive, single speaking, 350 million people. The GCC is starting to rival that, one language, unifying everybody, huge population across the GCC. So I think it's a super exciting time to be in the region, and it's set up to really give young people the platform to do amazing things.
Amazing. I need to get back out there soon. I loved it over there when I was there.
It's really hot now. I think come for like another 3 months.
I don't think I'll wait till it's a little bit cooler. I'll just be sunburn and red the whole time otherwise. So with Humantra, I'm always really keen to understand the founder's philosophy to building a brand, because there's many different philosophies, right, in terms of how people approach it, and it kind of guides certain tactics that people use to build a brand. What was your philosophy when building a brand? Like, what did you think was, I need to do these things to build the brand? Like, these are the priorities. And how has that shifted as the brand's, grown and gotten bigger?
I think prerequisite to all brand story needs to be great product. Like, it's not enough just to have a great product. I think you just have to have one. And so I think creating a product that we were super happy with and we were really proud of took time. So the business in essence was built on a great product. And I think then the next stage was, in my mind, I'm a big fan of like trying to make as much of your own noise as possible rather than going out and paying for noise when you haven't even sold any product. And so it was almost just like dialing in on a narrative, one single narrative, which was we focused on speaking to people that have never had an electrolyte before. And because I thought it's harder to convert somebody away from another product, or somebody's got a preconceived idea about what they should or shouldn't be taking, that's harder to do. But whereas what's easier to do is like, how can we present the problem in an effective manner and then provide a solution? And I think that targeting first-time electrolyte users, people that probably didn't think electrolytes were for them, was how we went about building our brand. And I think that we obviously, when everyone launched, you've got a product, right? And I think beyond there, and we're still figuring it out every day, but it's having like singular message and having a really solid product that people want to come back and buy over and over again. And I think for me now it's, okay, well, how do we take the story that we have to talking to the first time users, and now how do we apply it to people that maybe converting from another product? Because I think our product's good enough to speak to those people as well. So it's just a proliferation of ideas then of not, we don't want to talk to everybody, but I think for us, it's like having key, concise messaging, telling stories, and ultimately like building, like hype sounds like a cliched word, but it's like, how can we build as much noise, positive noise around the product as possible? And for us, that came with like almost layering in an element of performance marketing, top of funnel. But then I was like, well, how can we almost be seen in all the right places? So like some of the stuff we did early days was going to gyms, spin studios with great communities, trying to get the instructors or people taking the class using the product as well. Because in theory, it's like, let's say Claire on the school run sees a Facebook ad about product. She thinks that looks pretty good. But then the next thing, she's going to a spin class that she loves and she's seeing her instructor use the product. And it was just like seeing the brand in the right places. And so for us, it was like this multi-tiered approach of having great product, solid storyline, and then effective validation in the right places. And I think if we continue to do that, then we're going to have a good time.
And what about the team? So you founded the company. What's been your approach to the team? Who, like, in terms of who do you have in-house? Because I think a lot of brands, when they're first starting out, is like, what do I need and who do I need to help me grow this, right? Outside of like the product development and everything else. So what's been your approach there, and what's worked or what's not worked?
So I've just hired my first person. So we're like just hiring 2 roles, which is a customer service role and a brand manager role. But up until this point, it's just been me within the brand. And I think my ethos around that was very much like, where I'm not proficient, we'll work with best in class to help us. So from an agency perspective, obviously we use a performance marketing agency to help us with all our sort of performance stuff. We have a sort of content agency locally in Dubai that help us with our organic content. We use 3PL obviously for all our deliveries, which just so happens to be the same 3PL we have in the UAE and in the UK, which is super convenient. And I just think that, and then I get leverage support from a finance perspective from our investors, Huda Beauty Investments. They help me with my numbers and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just been me, which has been a slog. But it's almost given me the perfect foundation to identify where I need the most amount of help. And I'm super excited to be hiring people that the business really needs right now, and it's going to, it's going to benefit from massively, not just the business, but I think as a founder, my time is going to be spent in more effective areas. But I'd say like one of my superpowers was like, I would do all the shit jobs for as long as possible and work as much as possible, because it's given me and I've done this, in every iteration of my businesses. It's like, can we do as much as possible until we go and get other help? Because you just understand exactly what's going on in the business. But yeah, I'm at a point now where like I can't spend all day in DMs and replying to emails and everything. So we're bringing on a customer service support and also like brand manager piece. So yeah, at the moment, like it's been, I'll do everything. But now it's like, we're going to go and hire like super like important roles in the business. And that's the next stage, right? I'm really excited now to build out this team, because I believe we've got product market fit 100%. The business makes sense. And now our ability to really scale this business into what we want it to be is down to my ability to find and nurture talent, bring them all together and have a place where they love working. And then ultimately put in the processes to help them perform and keep the brand moving forward. So that's like the next iteration for me as a founder. And that's what I lose the most amount of sleep over, but I'm also really excited about.
I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but the job of any founder at some point becomes you become a talent acquisition focused company, right? Because at a certain stage, the success of your company becomes so much about who's working there. You're totally right. Like, you've been able to do everything up until this point, but your ability to then scale and be even more successful is, well, how well can you hire? So is your ability to find great people, bring great people in and give them the tools that they need to be successful, right?
Yeah, it is. We spoke about it. It's about assembling great people, and that can be really difficult. Like, I tried to hire about 3 months ago, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was looking for, and for the right reasons, it didn't work out. Whereas now I feel like I'm in a great position to bring the right people on board, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, amazing. I'll give you my resume. I'm a fan of the brand. Got any jobs going? You mentioned investor from Huda Beauty. When did you get investment? At what stage of the brand did you think you needed investment, and what was that process like, and how did that come about?
It was pre-product. It was right at the start. It was more like an incubation type project. Had incubated a couple of brands. Humantra, like Nameless, at that point was one of those, more of an idea and a concept, and they've been phenomenal. You know, what they have done, what Huda, Mona, Alia have built at that business is incredible. You know, unreal execution, arguably probably the best and biggest brand to come out of this region. They are fantastic. They've been really, really great sort of supporters of the brand. They've helped me no end, and it's been hugely important. I just think for me, having sort of been through the trials and tribulations of putting your own money in, losing it, I think they've just been able to guide me so much better. And it's been so helpful. And, you know, being able to talk to people that have done it before to a much larger extent than you have is invaluable. And I think ultimately that's the one thing I've realized. It's just about having the right people around you all the time in every aspect of your life. You don't want to build alone. It's lonely. You know, surround yourself with great people, have great conversations, great energy, and good things happen.
And again, we spoke about this, is like, even though there might be nuance to the specifics, when you align yourself with the right people who are maybe like further down the journey than you are, what you actually learn quite quickly is that their journeys follow 9 times out of 10, the journey has followed a very similar path of challenge and struggle and, you know, all those sorts of things. So I think it's like, to your point, it's like, you know, one, it's more fun to build with other people than be constantly kind of in your own head. But 2, it's not even that they can solve every problem for you. It's sometimes the reassurance that what you're going through challenges and this and that, like, that's normal. You don't need to think of everything as an existential threat. Like, the most successful people that I know have had and can tell me many stories of where they thought everything was going to come crashing down and they didn't know what to do. And they somehow survived through sheer kind of conviction and belief and unwillingness to give up.
My favorite question to ask any entrepreneur, no matter how successful, is like, tell me the time where you thought it was all fucking over, or like the worst point. And some of those stories where people come back from the brink are incredible. And it's like, I love asking those 2 questions, like, where do you derive the most amount of joy from in what you do? And then also, like, tell me about the time where you thought, like, this is all over. Because everybody's got a great story to tell. Everybody does.
I've got about 20 of those when I thought it was.
Which one do you want to hear about? How long have you?
Just this morning, in fact. It's only 9:30. No, I'm joking. I mean, 100%. And what have been some of those hurdles for you, right? And I don't want to get to like, it's not about even being negative, but I think, you know, one thing I'm always really conscious of, and I love that those are the questions you asked, by the way. Those are great questions. Where do you derive joy? I might have to sneak that into the podcast, actually. But what are some of the hurdles that you've specifically had to overcome when building Humantra? Because for anyone listening who is building a brand, maybe going through something, or maybe doesn't have a resource like a Huda Beauty or somebody else ahead of them, like, talk a bit about the hurdles and how you have overcome them.
I think I'll split it two. I'll split like the professional aspects and then probably the personal aspects. And I think the personal is a lot more prevalent because I think all the professional stuff can be overcome, right? It's not like I'm doing rocket science. Like, and it's in essence, I'm moving boxes around the world, really. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but it's like, how can we be with that? We're not solving diseases or solving crises, not rocket science. So I think sort of professionally, the area that I've struggled with the most is probably supply chain. And that's what scares me a lot. We've sold out a couple too many times now, which is great because it shows we can sell product. But at the same time, like, I need to get better at being able to not run out of products. It's all right 2 or 3 times, but then like if it keeps happening, it's an issue. So supply chain keeps me up at night. But I think we're getting better at it, which I think is great. And I think that while it's like my biggest frustration, like I'm committed to getting better at it. So there's like a part of it as a game is quite enjoyable. But I think actually, like everything's solvable. But I think for me, fundamentally, it's like that imposter syndrome that we spoke about just before we started recording. That internal battle in my head, like when I've faced it for maybe, I think I'm largely through the other side of it, but I think there'll always be an element of it, like in the back of my head. It's like, when's this all going to end? And I think I just became so conditioned to things not working very well and not working as I planned that then I was like, right, well, my sort of default was like, right, well, when's this going to mess up type thing? When in reality, it's like the more reps I've done, the better at my craft I am. And just having the confidence that I'm doing the right thing, it's not going to end. Goes back to that chop wood, carry water quote for me. It's like, focus on what I'm doing right now. There's a reason why I'm here. And I think that self-doubt can eat you up. It 100% can. And I've had times I'm thinking like, yeah, literally, like really worried about what's going to happen. But I also think to that point, that's what's pushed me forward. Like that fear of not being good enough or that fear of it not working out means every day I'm working harder to make sure that my biggest fear never happens. So it's like counterintuitive, like it eats you up, but at the same time, it keeps you going. So I'd say, yeah, professionally, it's the supply chain piece. And then personally, it's this like internal battle with my head, like, yes, this isn't going to end. And, I am the master of this shit and I'm not going to let it sink.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like you said, the thing that causes the negativity or doubt or, stress, for lack of a better phrase, potentially also the thing that drives you. And it's like, you actually don't want to lose it. You just want to be able to control it and realize you aren't like, how do you harness that? How do you harness those feelings and be in control of them versus having them control you? Because, I'm sure you've encountered it. When you feel that way, you can't operate at the same level. You're operating from a place of fear, which, like can have a negative impact on your decisions. So like, not just mentally in your own personal kind of like happiness and health and everything else, but it can have a detrimental impact on the day-to-day actions because you're operating from a place of fear.
There's a genuine, it's like science. If you're in fight or flight mode, your brain waves are on a different cadence to how you need to be creatively, when you need to think creatively. And so when you're like fighting to survive, your ability to be creative is suppressed. And so it's almost like just trusting instincts, knowing that you're on the right page. And I think you get peaks and troughs of it. Sometimes you just need to go into a shell and just get through it, work on it and improve. And I think for me, as I've become more experienced in this game, 7 years on, it's like I know those days when you doubt yourself, they do come and you just embrace them and tomorrow's going to be different. You wake up and you just go again. And I think that comes from just reps, right? It's reps on reps on reps. Like how often do people go to the gym and you fail at a weight, but you just keep on lifting it? Same with entrepreneurship. And I hate being an entrepreneur, but I just think it's like just turn up every day with a good attitude. There are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days, but just like believe in yourself. And that's, I think for me, been the hardest challenge, but I think I'm getting better at it with more experience.
I think it's something every entrepreneur just has to go through. You can hear all the advice in the world from people who are like, you got to enjoy the journey and you got to do this and you got to do that. And it's so true. But I genuinely think you don't get to that point, even though you know it, even though you know and have heard all the advice and the things from people who are further on, you actually just have to go through it. You have to experience it for yourself. And most people will eventually come to that conclusion of, oh no, they were right. But like, it's very difficult to operate that way until been some way down the journey.
But I mean, how often is like your parents said, like, don't touch that plate and you want to touch it, and my girlfriend talks Yeah, she's like, I need to learn it myself. No matter how many times people tell me not to do something, like I need to go through that pain myself to make myself understand it. And I think definitely when it comes to building business, like you can read all the books and you can listen to all the people that have done it before, but until you do it, until you like do it on a daily basis, like no amount of logic or reason in a book is gonna do it for you. You just got to do it. Like you just got to do it effectively, which is scary, but it's like there's no manual. And like we were speaking about before, like there's so many people further down the line than me that are still working out as they go. And so it's like that gives me comfort knowing that when I'm like, God, what do I do here? Know that other people don't know necessarily what they're doing, which is great. And I think ultimately, like, it's just working out. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. Like everyone's still going in every day. Like they've still got a family, they still got home, they still do all normal things. And I realized that at a young age, like everybody is just like a normal person effectively. And everyone's still just trying to get through every day. And I think that's, like when you think of it like that, it makes the hard days easier because you're not the only one struggling. Everyone does struggle from time to time.
Yeah, 100%. We touched upon it a little bit earlier, and I've heard, and I know this about you, when it comes to like specific marketing activities within a brand. And I think we share a very similar philosophy because we were catching up of, it's, even though, I technically run a brand performance marketing agency, like our approach, it's not just about lower funnel meta ads. It's really about how are we thinking, who is the target consumer? What messaging can we put in front of them that grows the brand holistically, right? So that's very much an ingrained philosophy that I've always had and that we have at Fly Performance. And, you share the same philosophy around like, it's not just about Facebook hacks that's going to grow my brand. It's a big part of it, right? Running ads and everything, but your overall approach is far more, how do I tell the right stories and get in front of the right people to grow my brand? So talk a little bit more about how that's guided your approach to actual marketing for the brand. And did you launch straight into ads when you launched the brand, or do you try and grow organically a little bit more? Because I think a lot of people still think the silver bullet is, well, I'll make a product, I'll build a Shopify site, I'll launch ads on day one, and we'll be fucking crushing it.
Crush it. Yeah, 100%. I used to think like that. 100% like just turn ads on and you fucking nailed it. With Humantra, so we didn't turn ads on for 4 months. So we did pretty much like organic, which was good. And we grew month on month, which is great. And I think we got to around $20,000 organic. And I was like, okay, I think this works. Like, I think that this now warrants spend putting to it. And that was the nerve-wracking thing to do.
That was at 20 grand in revenue per month?
Yeah, 20,000 a month in revenue was what we got to before we started. And the next month we did paid, and we launched paid. And
what was that month, if you don't mind me asking?
It blew all my expectations. Like, it was good. Like, when I was like, I know it's working, because I think fundamentally at that point in time, like, we were super concise on messaging. Went back to that idea of problem, solution, and there was an element of, look, we needed to be good at what we were doing. We needed to be good at buying media. But I very quickly realized that isn't good enough. That you can get anyone to buy anything, I think, once. But the true testament is how can we get people coming back more and more and more? And I look at it, the biggest frustration I have as this business owner right now is that I want to educate people to have 2 sachets a day, every day, the first thing they do every morning. And so I'm racking my brain every day right now, not thinking about what our customer acquisition cost is. I'm thinking, how can I instill behavior into people and how to use our products effectively? And I think that if anything is going to describe how I view the brand piece, is that, it's like, I believe we can get people to try our product. I believe we've got the skill set from a technical perspective to entice people into the product. But I think what transitions somebody from buying the product once into buying our product every month for the rest of their life is the brand piece. How can we educate them first and foremost on the hydration piece? How do we educate them that our product is sufficient, if not better, or good enough for them? I don't want to say our product's better than anyone else's, but I'm saying it's better than not taking electrolytes. So I've got to educate somebody why they need to take electrolytes. And then I think at that point, that for me is brand. It's like, how can we just transition from just being a product business that I think has a place maybe on Amazon. There are loads of product business on Amazon. Into how do we position into a brand and how do we tell stories? And I think we chatted about it earlier. Like, I think we're going into an age now where storytellers are going to win all over again. It's not good enough just to have an incredible media buying team behind you. You know, the one metric I track as a business owner for like ultimate success is blended ROAS, you know, not on platform ROAS, it's blended, because I know roughly where our sort of on platform ROAS is. So I know really if I'm judging brand, the number from on platform to what the blended actually is, that's how good we are at being a brand. And that's what excites me the most. How can we get our performance spend stretch it as much as possible? And I think that that's what excites me the most. You know, that's what's allowed us to be in the position we're in right now. And it's like, yeah, everything outside of on platform, you know, how do we build validation into the product? How do we educate our consumers? You know, if I put the way I look at it is, if you put me in a room, I could convince somebody to try Humantra once, and I could tell them how they should take it, when they should be taking it. I genuinely believe I can convince people. So how do we replicate that on a mass scale? And I think that comes as many different touch points beyond just like on platform marketing. And like our role is to reduce that consideration phase down as much as possible. But I would rather it take us 30 days for a customer to be like, yeah, this is the brand for me. And it costs slightly more. That's not the word. It costs slightly more to acquire that customer. But I know that customer that is well educated enough to know they need our products every day, 2 a day, and they're going to come and buy our product for the next 3 years. That to me is a win. I don't want to just acquire somebody quickly on platform because they think it looks good or tastes good, and then they don't get the results they think they're going to get from it, and they never buy it again. That isn't what we're really trying to do. And I think a lot of people solve for that first purchase to be as cheap as possible, not really understanding who that consumer is. And so for me, brand is like that, everything off platform that I think we're starting to do really well, but I'm also excited because we barely just started it.
Humantra, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 100% online?
We probably do like 85% e-com now. We're starting to branch out into some retail B2B pieces. I think that will only continue now. What I like about the e-com piece is it's where we can educate the most. And so if I look at our UAE model as a reference point, we did e-com for, 15 months or 14 months. And then the B2B stuff sort of came to us in an amazing sense because we'd put the groundwork in, we've educated people knew who the brand were. And I think that will always be into new markets, e-com first, and then can we transition into making the product more accessible? I never want our product just sat on a shelf with no education. People don't know what it is, how to use it. So I think e-com is the best way for people to come into the brand. And then as we grow and scale, we'll definitely be doing more retail stuff.
And that's been a shift, right, in the last couple of years. I think, you know, DTC became an entire business model, you know, and I think like, rightly so, right? Because you go where the opportunity is. And the opportunity was like, Facebook ads is so easy at that time. You know, it's like, we never need to do anything other than just run Facebook ads. And I'd argue that was always going to be I'm sure it gave a lot of brands a prop up, but it was always going to be a short-lived kind of approach in some senses. So your approach to being more omni-channel of like e-com first, but then extend out of there is really interesting. And I think a lot more brands are doing that. You would say like, a lot of brands doing pop-up stores and trying to have that in-person physical location, touch, feel, try the product. And it makes so much sense, but I think a lot of brands didn't even consider that for a long period of time, you know? So one of the challenges is then measurement, right? Of like when you're in multiple areas, is your advertising, I mean, you can measure it, but it does require a different level of understanding of the business. You know, if I'm advertising or running ads on X, Y, and Z channel, my e-com isn't going up, but hey, my Amazon is, and actually my store location revenue is, like my sell-throughs are pretty high. At the end of the day, like that's why that blended understanding of the business really comes into play, right?
100%. I think, yeah, look, the direct to consumer is an element of this business. You know, we're not an e-com business. We're not a D2C business. Like we're an electrolyte business. You know, we are an electrolyte brand. And so how we get to consumers is going to evolve over the time. You know, I don't want to be on Amazon right now. It's not where we need to be. You know, that's a choice we're making. But, you know, we're in some great retail spots in the UAE. We're looking at some awesome retail spots in the UK as well. And I think ultimately, you know, sort of 10% of our revenue in the UAE is through delivery. And I would never have expected people to buy electrolytes on delivery, but yet people do. And so why would I stop them buying through a channel that consumers want to buy through? And so like, it's just having that appreciation that I don't have all the answers. And it's like listening to consumers, understanding what they want, and making sure that we can build a proposition that consumers want and need every day. And I think for a long time, my earlier stage as an entrepreneur, especially with the D2C piece, I was like, nah, I'm going to be a direct consumer brand and I'm only going to sell direct consumer because I want to own all the customer data, yada, yada, yada. Like, how many times have we heard that? That used to be me. Whereas now I'm like, I want to create a phenomenal brand and I want to make it accessible in the right places to how people want to access it. And like that for me is where I'm having the most amount of fun. It's like, let's just get fundamentally a great product, build a great brand around it, and then just interact with people in so many different ways. And I think that, D2C, you can't just buy media really effectively anymore. There needs to be more to it than that.
I recently purchased, and you did a brand collab with a brand that I know we're both big fans of, the brand, the product, and the founders. You did a collaboration with Represent. How did that come about? And are brand collaborations and those sorts of partnerships something that you see yourself doing more of in the future?
Yeah, so the Rep collab was special for me. Like, I'd say it's probably like my favorite brand on the planet. My wardrobe is all Represent. What George and Mike have built is phenomenal. And I think maybe people just assume that like I've been made for George and he's helped to make it out, but it's not that way inclined at all. I remember when we launched Humantra, I just messaged him on Instagram saying, hey man, I'm a big fan of your product. Would love to send you my product. And he just sent me the address back. And that was in November, maybe October 2021. And I just sent in the product and didn't ask for anything in return. And I just sent in products every month. And then I think in January, like he posted and it was like in the background or something. And I was like, holy shit. And then I think from there, it just stemmed from George having a genuine appreciation for the product. He used it every day. He loved the product and it was super authentic. And I think, I didn't ask for anything in return. And then I remember I put actually the screenshot on my Instagram the other day. George just messaged me saying, do you reckon we could do some 247 electrodes? And I was like, yeah, of course we could. And I think then that's where Spicy Mango came from. It's tied in with George's story massively. He loves spicy mango. And so I think it just came from a really pure place of complete authenticity. George loving our product. It aligned perfectly with his story and what he's building at Represent. And I think that's why it worked, because it's not like we're just come together for a fad just to launch something. George is a master in telling story and building hype. And he's done that with 247, as an extension of the Represent brand. And so it just came from me sending my product to somebody I massively respected. And then the story that evolved from there is actually one that I'll always cherish. Like, it's pretty special. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, you should be, man. What a great story. Like the random hopeful DM resulting in what?
It goes back to that. Like, it's always like give without asking, always. I've always been that type of person. Like, don't expect anything in return. Just like give. And that comes from like knowledge, product, everything. I think there's a culture now where people want to send people stuff and immediately like, I'll keep posting on Instagram. Like, I never once ask. I never send products to anyone and ask them to post about it. All I ever do is send products and say like, just please let me know what you think of the product. That's all I need. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. And I think that's where, if I look at as well, beyond George, some of the people that use our product now, we've got some Premier League footballers using the product, other professional athletes. And it's like, we don't pay anyone to use the product. It's just come down from a genuine love of the product. And just from a really authentic place. And I think I'd say like one of my skill sets is like that authenticity piece. Like, as a brand, we want to be super transparent, exceptionally authentic. And I think that's just what's held us in good stead to this point. So yeah, one of those stories I'll always be proud of, and very, very appreciative of the support that George has given the brand, because he's further down the track than I am. And it's been incredible to be a part of. And actually to see a master of his craft, both Mike and George, up close and personal, seeing what they do, it's different, very impressive.
Yeah, no, I'm huge fans of them as entrepreneurs, and I absolutely love the brand as well. Like, I'm typically decked out in it represents pretty exclusively. I bought it. I bought the collab. Spicy mango. It wouldn't be the first flavor I think of, but I'm excited to try it.
It's good. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that lends itself into it. Like, one of the key elements, obviously, looking at George's lifestyle is that he's a super active guy. Our mineral balance in the main line of the product has 180 milligrams of sodium in it. So it's not a really high sodium content. Your average Joe, normal person, doesn't need a load of sodium all the time. And that's the mineral balance we went with. Whereas the spicy mango flavor has 500 milligrams of sodium. So which is more geared to people that are maybe training a little bit more often. You need to replenish the salts that you've lost through sweat. And so tied in with what George was doing, he gave us a more nuanced version of our product, more performance line. It actually helped us then talk to people that are in that conversion market a little bit better because it's the sodium requirement we needed. So as a brand, it gave us a great sort of opportunity for an MPD to sort of spin a different product out that's slightly different to mainline. And obviously it's a limited collaboration. It ties in flavor-wise to exactly what George wanted. Or it's an authentic version of something that's been in the works for a long time, and very proud of it.
I think that's, you use the word a couple of times, and everything from how it came about to how, like, the end result of the product. And it's so true of so much when it comes to building a brand is that authenticity. Like, it doesn't feel like a forced collaboration. It doesn't, like, the outreach was authentic. The use of the product from George's perspective was authentic. The coming together was based on a love of the product and your admiration of him and what he does and his lifestyle. And, for anyone who does follow him, he's constantly posting his chopped up mangoes, which help him get the physique. So, like, I love that just like constant through threads of authenticity. And I think, like, the best marketing, the best brand collaborations, the best stories that are told, because people aren't stupid. Like, you can tell if something is being forced or faked versus if something is really authentic.
Do you know what? I think what it fundamentally boils down to, like, I realized it maybe 4 months ago, like, if you ask me, like, what is business? Business to me is like doing cool shit with cool people. That's all it is. And I think the Represent collab is the epitome of just doing cool shit with cool people. And, like, that's what I get out of bed for. That's what makes me smile every day. Like, somebody said to me, like, you can collab with any brand in the world. Who would it be? Like, I'd have said Rep, and we did it. Like, it was the first Rep. First collab we did, we can't talk about. We signed a contract. But the second one was with Rep. And, like, it's every day. Like, it's just been amazing. And George has been massively influential on the brand as well, and my own journey as well. So I highly appreciate it. But it's been pretty awesome.
You talk a lot about your own fitness journey, and anyone who follows you, and again, being authentic. You came up with this product because you identified an issue. You live a healthy, active lifestyle. You have a pretty regimented morning routine. I mean, you're up at 3:30, 4?
Yeah, 4 o'clock is like probably the latest I get up. My alarm goes off at 4. Sometimes I'm up earlier than that, but I think I go to bed very early anyway. My girlfriend also lives in Australia, so sometimes it's easier getting up anyway. But yeah, early mornings for me is sacrosanct. I absolutely love the morning. I think if I look back on my 20s and early 30s, in the evenings, I was spending time like watching crap on TV or doing stuff that wasn't helping me move forward. And I was getting up later in the mornings, and it just wasn't a great place to be. Whereas now, like, the mornings are peaceful. I love training early. I think discipline comes down to, like, doing hard things. And if you set a tone for the day, like, it's not easy getting up at 4 every morning. Like, it's not like I get up at 4 to go and, like, watch Netflix. I get up to go and do something difficult. So, like, compounds the difficult getting up early, go and do something difficult. But I think for me, it's just like that discipline sets the tone for the day. And because I love what I do, like, waking up in the morning is just not difficult. I mean, it used to be. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I used to think 7 o'clock was a good time, was early to get out of bed. But gradually got earlier and earlier. And my bedtime's got earlier and earlier. But for me, it just... it's the morning. It's just so peaceful, and a lot of my deep work happens before 8 o'clock.
It's an interesting one because you see a lot of stuff on social media, and it's like morning routine, this, that, and the other. Like, my take on it is, like, it's got to be something that works for you, right? Like, I think there's, like, maybe it's a bit of a joke in the entrepreneurial realm that if you're not doing this, if you don't wake up at 4 and meditate for an hour and journal for an hour and do this, then you're not going to be successful. And I don't believe that, like, at all. I can tell you my consistency of morning routines is about 20% if I look at a longer horizon. Like, I'm much better now because I just prefer it. I just enjoy it. I don't do it because I think it's going to make me more successful, but I like getting up relatively early. I like going to the gym. I like reading before my days. Like, I just like it. I don't do it because I think it's going to make me the next Jeff Bezos. And I think that's the thing, like, you got to, it really works. You got to find what works for you. But the thing I do really like about, and I really believe in, and I know it's a privileged position to be in if you have access to gyms and you're healthy and okay to do it. But that crossover of discipline of physical activity into business discipline is so real. I'm such a believer in, like, being disciplined with your own body, like, translates so well over into being disciplined within your business.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, not just business. Like, I think if you can have the discipline to live a healthy lifestyle, go gym, like, it just transposes into every aspect of your life. I think my life fundamentally changed for the better when I stopped drinking alcohol and when I started going to the gym 6 days a week. That's when everything changed in my life. And I think, like, my cognitive ability has improved, my physical ability has improved, my love for life is improved, and my mindset has. And I just think that, discipline, like, it goes back to that point as it's a lame quote, but a great one, that, like, consistency transforms average into great. And I think that's what it boils down to for me. Is like, just the reps on reps consistently. Discipline for me it's like, just set the tone for the day. It's like making your bed in the morning. You're right. I don't wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to post on Instagram to show off to anybody. I do it because it fits my lifestyle. Like, I don't post about that. I go to bed at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. Like, but people would say I'm boring. But then at the same time, like, that doesn't matter. Like, I'd rather live my life how I live it, because I enjoy it more than anything. And it's like, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, it just suits me. Like, you don't need to get up early, but it's like, all I'd say is, if you say you're going to get up at a time, whether that be 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 12 o'clock, just get up at that time. It's a discipline in doing what you say you're going to do is what matters more than the time you wake up in the morning.
I love that. I don't know if it's like a Jordan Peterson quote or something, but it's like, never break a promise you make to yourself, right? Because you start to, like, if you say you're going to, like you said, if you say you're going to get up at 8, but then you don't get up at 9, you've broken that promise. And it's those little things that actually builds your own discipline, but also your own trust, that if you say you're going to do something and you do it and you get consistent at doing the things that you tell yourself you're going to do, like, the compounding benefit of that is so, so powerful. And I think that's, like, such a good point. It's like, if 4 a.m. is, like, unrealistic, or if running a marathon tomorrow is unrealistic, like, maybe don't set that goal. Set things that are achievable, because then you build that trust in your own capability to do the things you say you're going to do. And it's, that's more important than the time of what you get up, or the length of this, or the whatever you do in the gym. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not breaking those promises to yourself.
Yeah, it's not about the time. It's just my ability to be disciplined to my word. I'm going to do this and then do it without any thought process whatsoever. And don't get me wrong, like, it went 7, like 6:30, 6, 5:30, 5. And now I found exactly where I want to be at 4 o'clock. But it's not the time. It's just, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do it. Like, that for me, my word is probably the most important thing. And not just to other people, but to myself. Because I think for a long period of time, like, I let myself down in that respect. But I made a promise to myself that my word was going to be everything. And, I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard always. And I think that's, for me, set the tone first thing in the day, do something difficult. And I love it. And I would implore anyone, I know we just said about the time, but, like, I would implore anyone to go to bed earlier and wake up just for 30 days. Like, get up at 5 o'clock every day for 30 days. And I promise you, and then go and do something difficult. And I promise you, life will improve.
Do it. I agree. What's next for Humantra, Charlie? You're hiring people. You're doing collabs with your favorite brands in the world. I know there's a ton that you're working on, but what's your number 1 and 2 priority for the brands?
So it just launched in the UK, which has been really cool. I think for me, it's been pretty special being here for 10 years. I've always wanted to take a brand back home. So that's been pretty cool the last like 7 days. And then hiring is obviously key focus. But again, just boils down to like, I know where we want to go and got a macro sort of vision over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. But ultimately for me, like, again, it sounds cliche, but just want to have fun. Like it goes back, I want to do cool shit with cool people always. It's how can we leverage those opportunities? How can we find more of them? You know, how can we do cool shit? Like that's really in every aspect. It doesn't need to be business in life. Like I just want to surround myself with amazing people and do super cool things. And that can be employees, the people who come and work for the business. It could be brands we work with, businesses we work with, entrepreneurs we work with, people I speak to. It's just doing more cool shit with more cool people.
Amazing. Dude, we're going to wrap it up on that. I think it's a great final message to end on. And I just want to say a huge thank you for being on the pod. Big fan of you and what you're building, your approach, your philosophies to life and business and marketing. And I couldn't agree more with almost everything you say. And I totally agree. Doing cool shit with cool people. It's why I do Bite Size. I just get the opportunity to like talk to really inspiring people building things. So it's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And obviously I'll link out to Humantra. I've got my spicy mango on the way. I've already tried the product. And again, so as someone who's super active, it's really beneficial to my lifestyle. So definitely check it.
I always say like, if it's not Humantra, for any reason, like just take electrolytes and it will improve your life 100%. Like that's my key message. Like hydration is water and minerals and life will get better.
Agreed. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, bro.